Let's see if I can nail this one with just hitting pause as the edit button. This is the Stroker 15. It came in two flavors, 152 and 154. I'll put a link to the old listing on Sonic Electronics. Shout out to Nathan for that, using his website as an archive, which is fantastic. It shows specs. I wish it would show price, just because they don't make the Orion Blue books anymore. I'll do a whole video on that. But it just shows you some of the features that at the time the company was promoting, sometimes specs and things like that. Basically, this is just a double stack motor. It's actually equal to the original Orion HCCA 15 from like 1998 that was designed by Thilo Stompler of T.C.O.Z. The only trick on this thing is that it uses a dual gap, but it's kind of shitty as far as execution. The idea is actually patented, and I talked to the guy. He's one of those inventors that's out there. He thinks his idea is great, but it's actually not. One of the failures with it was that Cerwin Vega, of course, did not support it, and it uses a modular Recone frame. First of all, I want to point out there's no inner cap, which is poor execution on Cerwin Vega's fault at the factory. They could have put an inner cap on there to hold back that pressure if this woofer was so powerful, you know. I usually use an inner cap on anything over 400 watts. So, and then this trim ring bolts into place. Yeah, remember this was before Orion had got bought by MD, which is their present owners, and used this sort of modular system. So it's just a ring clamp that bolts on, and then this is like, you know, reminiscent of JL Audio's thing, and then this should just come right out. Yeah, and then so as you can see, it's an underhung coil that only looks like a 40 millimeter wind height. The coil is actually still in good shape. Tell you what, if somebody wants to buy this, I will sell it to them, because it doesn't look like there's anything wrong, but I'll ohm out a little bit of a burn mark there, but it should still be okay. No real rubbing on the inside. I hate those terminals. Those are dumb. Should use spring terminals, but I'm sure they used them just for practical purposes. And as you can see, here is the top gap, top plate. And there's another one in between, because typically when I harvest these things for the motor, if I can, I try to reclaim the ferrite, as you can see over there, which seems a little ridiculous to a lot of, I would say, top tier makers, just because I'm poor. So I have to do the best with what I got, and every sale counts for me. So now when I'm fucking baller status like yeah, fuck this poor shit. Yeah, get the fuck out of here, poor people. Sure, I'll go with that. Now somebody has modified this a little bit. They put some shims in there, which is not great. And then I think, yeah, the bolts came in from the bottom. So like the Orion, the present Orion HCCA, you would take the bolts out of here, and then these come off. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these real quick and show you, basically get down to the motor. The only thing worth saving on here is the T-yoke and the magnets. The two top plates suck, if I remember right. Or I think the middle top plate still needs to be tapped out if you want to use this as a regular motor. And that's the only thing for that. Other than that, the weird shape is meant to promote using multiples, and then you can group them together. Is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, hexagon shape. And of course, if you watch anything about bees, they say that hexagons are the most efficient way to stack things together. You know, whatever, good job. Other than that, it's kind of a turd, especially for the price that they were costing. If I remember right, they were right around $600. And this should only cost about, if minus tooling, like don't count tooling, because this tooling is it's egregious. It was unnecessary. And so I don't want to count the tooling, but manufacturing cost should be right around $50. And of course, it's made in China. You don't need this frame. You could just use the, the regular 4-spoke or the 12-spoke. with this motor and still get the same performance, even with the double gap. And if you look at the double gap idea, that's basically Dan Wiggins' work with XBL and his original brand, Dyer Audio. The boot was on the inside. If anybody wants to buy the boot, that's fine. I will sell the boot and the dust cap, 20 bucks if you want. If this Recone kit is good, I will do it for $100, and I will include the ring. If you want to do everything, it'd be $120. That's how that works. The only thing I want is to be able to pull this apart, because I don't really want to sell this to anybody. It's kind of a curse to give to other people. And then of course the frame will go to the scrapyard because it's worthless. Unless somebody wants to give me 20 bucks for it, then I'll give you fucking $20 for it. Let me pull this apart. I think this is some of the original hardware. Again, what they probably used was the same build house that Orion used when they first came out with their version of HCCA. But here's a better look at that stack. There's actually a secondary magnet, which is not what Dan Wiggins has in his patent, which is why this one got its own patent. Not that it's any better. And remember that just because someone has a patent doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea. You can patent all kinds of stupid things just for the sake of patenting. And if you watch Shark Tank, they're like, you got to have a patent, you know. And again, you're talking about something that investors look for. And for the most part, the shark investors are actually really lazy. But that's fine, you know. When you get that rich, you can be that lazy. Okay, I remember now. So this one uses something, I forget which company actually trademarked the term chassis, meaning the chassis is also a heat sink. And so the frame actually goes in between, close to the gap, and then works as a heat sink to pull away the heat. So I remember now, in order to get all this apart, it's all glued together. So I got to put it on the hot plate, that little fucker that I got for 10 bucks from Fry's Electronics one Christmas, one Black Friday. And then you simply just pull it apart. So yeah, that's it. And I'll take the grill off. Like I said, I'll use the T-yoke, and then I'll just use one of the the top plates that I got here, or something that I can make. We'll restack it, and if we want to extend the pole, we can. Yeah, well, I'm thinking like, should I just end the video here? Because it's not that great. To me, it's really boring. But I guess I'll do a follow-up and pull this thing apart. Just to comment on the chassis idea, in some of the, not in this version, this is the 2-inch version from Alpine. I think in the next version after that, the 2.5, they use the chassis idea. Again, they put a part of the frame built inside of the motor. Number one, that keeps people from reusing them, recycling them, reconing them, repurposing them. And does it help with the power handling? Yes, it allows you to put up bigger numbers. Are those numbers realistic? No, they're all inflated. In fact, for a while, I remember going into Best Buy and seeing the Type R rated for 3,000 watts. I was like, this is insane now. And they were charging like, I think $359 for it. But again, this woofer has never been more than about maybe $750 at its peak, which is right now, which is a 2 5/8 coil, all copper, and then like an 8-inch spider and all that kind of stuff. But it's a good woofer, but not for the price. Like again, this manufacturing cost on this is right around $30 for that, maybe less, depending on their quantities and things like that. But yeah, just stop getting ripped off, guys. That's why I really support a lot of these efforts from Amazon and these entrepreneurs. Typically they're Chinese entrepreneurs trying to bring products to market that are they're not knockoffs. It's just a different version of a successful product. Like instead of calling it Rockville, they call it Soundtown. That's a pretty obvious sidestep. And there's really nothing wrong with a knockoff. Just like it's just branding. If you go to Costco, you can buy Grey Goose vodka for like half the price if you buy it under the Kirkland brand. Bam. See? So, and gasoline, same thing. Like Chevron adds Techron or whatever. Techron is fucking bullshit. You can just buy it from AMPM, which is Arco. And then also Valero. A lot of those are distributor direct. They also own, like, as part of a refinery or other parts of the machine. But again, it depends on how much money is on the table. A lot of that is mostly marketing, and gas stations actually make most of their money on the bullshit that you buy in there, like chips, you know, because they get chips for like 50 cents and they sell them to you for $3. That's a good margin. So anyways, we'll talk more about that. Thanks. Well, shit, I just left this on here for 3 days. Should be good. Turn it off, let it cool, come back to that motherfucker, see if it's ready to go. So I forgot about this one for like 3 days. Let's go ahead and crack it open. Oh, what was left was the frame. So again, it just shows how it bolts into place. The whole thing is supposed to be removable, and it's also supposed to use the chassis or the frame as the heat sink. So, and this is all what that was recovered. This is all that I think is worth anything. It's funny. I can get the standard size top plate out of here and reuse the magnet. That's fine. But again, overall, you're almost better off just buying a used motor from somebody else online. Again, I'm probably only doing this for the video to show you, you know, in case of Thunderdome, in case of Mad Max, you can still do this, and this is how you do it. Just want to give you a better look at this stack. So this is the second top plate. This is the top gap. You peel that off. There's actually an insert on the inside that's meant to capture the heat and then bring it out this way and then transfer it to the frame. This is the stuff that Jacob Fuller talks about on his Neo woofers. And what's funny is, if you just make this powerful enough, you don't need all this heatsink stuff. It's powerful enough. If you're really having heat issues, heat problems, that's typically a user error, that they're using it wrong. They're just asking too much of what it is, and then you go, well, they bought this woofer for $2,000 or whatever they paid. They want to get their money's worth. It's like, maybe it's not worth $2,000, huh? What about that? You know, like it costs you, say, $400 to make. Maybe you can sell it for $1,000 or $1,200 or something like that. Not $2,000 or $2,500 or $3,000 or whatever it is. But I wanted to show you that. So it's just it goes in. This actually covers the top plate, so it uses the top plate as a heat sink, and then it sinks it out to the frame. Oh yes, I remember this now. So this is a second magnet to, I assume, to help balance some of the gap, the top gap flux, to add it, because you're going to lose a little bit, especially with this piece of aluminum in between the bottom stack, which is the main stack, and the top gap, which is why they did this. So, but you can see, you got to pull this off, right? This went ahead and broke. You can just stick it back on the hot plate and get all the rest of this off. And then you got to take off the screws, and then that piece comes off, and then you're left with this double stack. So I'm gonna see if I can go in through the bottom, maybe pull the double stack off there. This is the top plate. This isn't really good for anything. I might be able to use it for some of the Neo motors that we're getting. We collected a bunch of them from Cicada. At Cicada, they've been using them as paperweights. And I'm like, oh, those are pretty valuable to me. So I'll see if I can coax them out of giving those up as well. But there should be plenty, just because, again, people ask too much of their equipment. And, you know, nothing is bulletproof. Well, that's going to cook. And I'll recover that and use it for something else. I'm just going to move on. The T-yoke is pretty standard. It's about the same diameter. I think it's probably a 7-inch diameter. So it's good for the 7.5-inch slugs that TC.O.Z originally used. I don't have that size right now with a big ID, so I'm going to use the 220s, which is overkill, but you know, motor gonzo. So let's see, we'll do one, maybe two more, at least one more. Yeah, we'll just do a triple stack. That'll be fine. So, and then if the holes are in the right position, I line them up, and then I fill with epoxy all the way down, and that just sort of creates a lateral stability from shifting, and then I also epoxy in between. So we do a triple stack, and then I could probably just do the regular top plate, and then it's just a big triple stack. So then it's good for like 2,000 watts. It's pretty rad. That's it. That's done with that project, so now you know where that's going to go, and then of course I'll do a follow-up or something like that. But this DS18 came in, and he had worn out the cone, and we had replaced the cone, and then it's got all this adapter shit that I want to take off and do the GONZO cone on, because it should be deep enough. Just wanted to give you the make and model number. This is the EXL. The original EXL series had 2.5 inch voice coil with a big motor. This one's even bigger with a 3 inch, and then it fits. Oh shit! Let me get the coil real quick. In a jam, you could use the TC9 coil, which is a 40 millimeter wind height copper. But I like the 50 millimeter wind height of this one. This is basically a short version of the old GONZO coil that we used to use, and that's the part number. This is actually the PE part number, but it's also used by lower to base. So dual tube copper, good to go. We'll use our regular spider, this guy, for the dual leads, and then use the GONZO cone. That's it, and then I'll do a follow-up with the finished product.